Redditors who have dated very attractive people but weren't that smart. What was the final straw? She thought Sir Mix-a-Lot had ripped off Nicki Minaj. She was only 1 year younger than me, but she had no knowledge of pop culture pre-2001. She'd never seen Lion King, Hercules, basically the majority of the classic Disney movies. Basically, she made me feel old, despite the fact I was only 20 at the time. So then we're out in a bar, and they start playing I Like Big, and she comments, "Oh my god, this remix of Anacondas." So I told her it was the original. She didn't believe me, and as I sat there stunned I realized, nah, this ain't worth the effort. Dumped her the next day. Magnificent arse though. I once went on a couple of dates with a proper 10/10. Everything on this girl was perfect. Face, eyes, hair, teeth, they were godly, legs, everything. She was easily the definition of the perfect form. However, she couldn't grasp that the UK, the country we lived and grew up in, was part of Europe. She also was incredibly ignorant about immigration, her parents' fault, also beautiful but stupid people, and blamed every problem in the UK on immigrants coming to the UK. Those two were the biggest issues I had with her, as the ignorance and stupidity was insane. There was loads of other stupid things, think along the lines of Jessica Simpson and the chicken of the sea comment she once made. She literally knew nothing. She couldn't even sum up our tab for drinks that came to 20-something pounds. That was great though, and watching her shower was a glimpse of heaven. His job was laying people off left and right. So what does he do? He buys a car on payments. He lost his job the next week and had zero savings. I just couldn't handle the stupid anymore. Edit, to everyone saying he needed the car to get to work, no he didn't. He had a reliable way of getting to work. He didn't even have his driver's license until after buying the car. He bought a car out of his price range at any rate. He had a history of buying things on credit and already had $3,000 worth of electronics bought on credit at the time, none of it paid off. A car was a fun purchase when he had zero savings and had a high chance of getting laid off. So stupid decision. Had to read this a few times to understand, it wasn't his actual job to lay people off, giving the bad news, but his employer was laying people off. I didn't realize for the first few days. And then I started to notice that anytime I said something above a third grade level he would just laugh a little and not really say anything. I asked my friend about it, who had known him for years, and he told me that in high school this guy would constantly say what? Or I don't get it in conversations, so he taught him to just laugh when he didn't get something to avoid looking dumb. He's a dad now. Poor kid is going to think she's hilarious. I was dating this girl once and we were watching Inglourious Bastard and she says, "I don't get why people hate Hitler so much, he was just the leader of an army like any other," and when I mentioned the Holocaust she just stared at me blankly. She had never heard the word Holocaust before in her life. It was absolutely shocking to me that she had never heard of it. She wasn't stupid, just not a very good student I guess. That moment reminded me why education is so important. Some examples. Saw 10:10 p.m. on a digital clock, asked if 1001 was ever a year. She knew we were in 20XX, whatever year it was, but wasn't sure if 1001 was ever a year. Tried tanning under the lights in my living room. Wanted to put diesel in her car because it was cheaper. Thought a lower unit price at Walmart was more expensive, you get less units, how is that better? Thought doubling the recommended heat in the oven would cut the cooking time by 75%, seriously no clue how she came to this conclusion. Thought the sport of bowling was started by people with 3 fingers, I may have suggested that to her to see if she would buy it, she did. Haha, finally, a question I can answer. So my ex of 5 years was a real knockout. Even in my younger years, I was surprised I landed someone like her. Probably won't get a girl like that again. She was half white, half Asian, had a curvyish body, cute face, and all the other cute girl qualities. Thing is, she was really prissy, airhead, Winnie is, kind of selfish, a religious fanatic, and overall her life was full of drama. She constantly had exes and male friends trying to get between us, her dad was a douche nozzle, mom was just as bad as her, and she was always moving around. It was stressful. The worst of it was how dependent she was on others. She was always babysitting a friend's kids and kissing her even when we had made plans. Oddly enough, she was the one who pulled the plug, when I came out of the atheist closet, then she went on and got a bunch of STDs according to people I know, go figure. We were in high school and she was way out my league. Had considered breaking up with her once and my friends reminded me she was gorgeous and unlikely I'll replace her with someone as pretty, so I stuck with it. I started college, she was older than me but still in high school, away, and the first week I ran into a girl I met at orientation and we talked for a bit. After a 20-minute talk I realized the college girl knew more about me than my girlfriend of a year. Hot girls are fun, but someone wanting to know more about you is pretty great too. Dumped the girl soon after and my friends were wrong. There are a lot of hot girls out there and I even found some to date and one to marry me. She was estranged from most of her family except for one of her siblings. I asked what that sibling did for a living, and she got agitated with me that I would ask such a thing. She was a God-fearing Republican who referred to anyone left of her political position, such as myself, as a violent liberal. I'm also an atheist. The final straw was that she wanted to have children someday. I most definitely did not. She wasn't on the pills, so we always used, except for that one time she climbed onto me while I was fetching the. I instantly pictured 18 years saddled to this woman paying for a child I didn't want. We lasted a couple more weeks, but I knew it was over. Edit. She also had over $100,000 in debt, student loans, credit cards, etc., and an advanced degree in a field she really had little aptitude for. She was only working a couple of days a week waiting tables and not really covering her bills. I didn't want to find myself combining her finances with my own. I didn't want to take him to a party because I thought he wouldn't enjoy it, justified it by reckoning it was because I knew he wouldn't fit in with my uni friends and he'd be embarrassed by not being able to keep up. I finally admitted it was because I was embarrassed that my highly educated friends, at a uni party where everyone was post-grad, would realize quickly that he was dumb and I was him despite it and would make me look bad. I'm not proud of it. My smart friends aren't jerks who would think less of an uneducated person, but I was a jerk. I broke up with him when I realized I didn't respect him enough to introduce him to my friends. She thought Cubist artists were from Cuba. She read that Picasso was Spanish and got confused. In an art exposition dedicated to him, that she made me go with 5 of her family members, on Sunday. Oh, and reading the other replies in this thread made me remember, I had to explain to her why climbing up a staircase was harder than climbing down, and for that I also had to go through how gravity works. Worth noting, she was not a child. Edit. There is only 2 things to be noted as stupid from her in my reply, the second paragraph is just context for the first one. And to confuse Cubist with Cuban is not about art, come on. She was adamant that chocolate being toxic to dogs was a myth. Her reasoning was that when she was a toddler, she gave her uncle's dog M&Ms and he was just fine. Found out from her mom later that it was a German Shepherd and a toddler's handful. She loved to give little table scraps to my 10-pound Chihuahua, and refused to believe that any people food, grapes, onions, etc., could hurt him. When I realized that not only was she an idiot for not believing food toxicity is real, but that I also couldn't trust her to just honor my wishes and not feed those things to my dog, I had to let her go. Couldn't risk her endangering him, and also someone who gives your dog something against your will is a